All right, good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. Give you a moment to come on in, give you a moment to share. We are going to continue with our Wealthy Place 2023. On tonight, I have two guests that we're going to be working, that we're going to be talking to, and that's going to help us to receive more information about stepping and walking into our wealthy place, about preserving and sustainable income for lifetimes, for families, and things of that sort. And so it's going to be interesting. So definitely get your pen and paper together, get your questions together, because we are going to download some really great information to you. So just a little bit about Wealthy Place 2023. For those of you who are tuning in with us for the first time, number one, it is streamed both live to my Facebook page and my YouTube page. So if you have friends and family that are not connected to my Facebook page, it's no problem. They can follow me on my YouTube page at JA Wrights01. And they can also tune in, and you can share the link with them from there, because we want to make sure that we are empowering everyone to receive all of this great information. On last night, we had P. Lonnie Harris talking about real estate wholesaling. It was a great presentation. And tonight we're going to have two individuals that are business people that have really great insight into this particular area. And so the Wealthy Place 2023, as I've told you all before, is it really came about with God just saying, I want you to educate my people. I want you to provide information to them about just wealth creation, about generational wealth, about things that they can do now to begin to get their finances in order to begin to shift their mindsets. And so that's really how this started. And so just being obedient and making sure that I was there to provide the resources to you to propel you into your Wealthy Place 2023. So listen, I am not going to hold the time anymore. I have Adrien Cornelius is going to be coming on. He's going to be talking to you. He is a State Farm agent. He owns his own insurance agency, and he's going to just be giving you some information. A lot of times we like to shy away when we talk about things like life insurance, and there's so much that he has to offer in terms of just knowledge and just making sure that you and your family are properly protected, covered. And then also, it's not, well, I'm not going to go into it because we discussed it a little bit, but I'll let him kind of share that information with you. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring him in, and then we will go ahead and get started. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. How are you tonight?
I'm good, Elder Joyce. How are you?
Listen, I'm fine. I'm excited to have you on. We talked a little bit before when I asked you to come on, and you were really giving some good information that you wanted to share, with the people, because a lot of times people think, well, maybe I shouldn't speak from people, but it just seems like life insurance seems to be this really complex, not necessary, limited box like thing, where it's just limited to one or two areas and things. And so as we were kind of talking, I was like, wow, this is going to be really good information for people to know and to receive. And my thing is that I don't want people to be closed-minded with it. Because, when you hear insurance and things of that sort, you think limited, you think one or two areas, because that was one of the things that I would be as well. Let me make sure I'm covered so I can go to the doctor. Let me make sure that my car is covered in case I get in an accident, and then that was just the end of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the PowerPoint up. You let me know when you're ready for me to transition, and we're going to get right into educating the people. So I'm going to pop out of the way and let you take over.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you, Elder Joyce, for this opportunity. This is very, very important topic. And so I was in agreement with you when you asked me to join to talk about a wealthy place, because you're right. A lot of people don't think about insurance when they talk about creating wealth and generational wealth, especially when it comes to life insurance. And as you know, insurance agents are kind of like used car salesmen. People don't like to trust them. They don't check what they do. But, I want to dispel a lot of the myth. A lot of it is just getting you information, getting information in your hands, getting information in front of you. And as a man of God, I definitely value people's time and also their livelihoods. And so God had placed it upon my heart to open this business after being in insurance for over 25, close to 25 years, 23 and a half so years before I opened my agency. And it was just, he just kept speaking to me like, you can do more to help people in your profession. Yes, we're all in our professions and we're doing great things, but there's more that you have to offer to the public. And so that's what led me to get an insurance. And I've always had an entrepreneurial type of spirit just from my family, my upbringing. But real quickly, so when we talk about wealth creation, and there's two things I want to address tonight as it relates to insurance. So the first thing is how to create your wealthy place through insurance, right? And then the second part, if we have time, I just want to touch a little bit on how to maintain your wealthy place through insurance. And so the first we'll talk about how to create your wealthy place through insurance. So when we talk about a wealthy place from an insurance standpoint, one of the things that people don't realize is life insurance is a big way to create wealth, and not only wealth but generational wealth. And so the slide you have up now says 45% of us learn about life insurance from our families, right? So we learn about life insurance from our families. We may not hear about it in school, but I have an interesting statistic in how African Americans perceive life insurance. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later. If you'll put up slide 2 for me, please. And so we talk about kicking the bucket. I don't really like the term kicking the bucket. A lot of people say I have a bucket list. I don't like using that term because it just sounds so morbid, but that's fine. But when you talk about a bucket list for life insurance, and when you're talking to your family about a bucket list on life insurance, you really need to make a list of what are your priorities, of what are you trying to do. So through this presentation, I want to instill in you that life insurance is not all about after you die, right? Even though that is a big part of it, there's some living benefits to life insurance as well. And so if you're creating your list with your family about life insurance, what is it that you want to protect? Obviously, you want to protect your life, right? But also your life when it comes to your descendants, your children, or your spouse or your significant other, whoever you're going to leave that money to, right? And so do you want to protect the house? Do you want to make sure that your spouse is able to maintain their standard of living if you were to pass away? Or, because a lot of times we see a husband pass away and the wife can't stay in the house. She has to sell the house, or vice versa. And they don't have life insurance in place. And we all have seen the stories. We know about GoFundMe and chicken dinners and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not knocking any of that, but it's just, if we have a little bit more education and pre-planning, we can prevent all that stuff. So do we want to protect our house? Do we want to protect our assets? Do we want to make sure the bills are paid if our spouse is having to pay the bills after we're gone because we're not there to bring in our income? We want to protect that. Do we want to fund our children's college? Do we want to prepare for one of our child's weddings, or whatever the case is? But make that bucket list of your priorities. Of what do you want to protect when it comes to life insurance? So if we move to the next slide, please. And so most people, when they think about life insurance, and I mentioned a couple of these, they think about wedding, getting married. So when you get married, you have a spouse, you take on another person's life. And so you're now responsible not only for your life, but the two shall become one, right? So you're now responsible for the life of your spouse. And so if you love your spouse, I always say life insurance is love insurance, right? The greatest gift you can give to anyone, other than introducing them to the gospel, right? And the natural is to give them life insurance, to make sure they're protected. Like I said, if your spouse passes away, you want to make sure he or she is able to stay in their house. They don't have to downsize, sell their home, move in with their parents or their sister, brother, whatever. If they're able to maintain their standard of living because you looked out for them. And I'll tell a real quick story, but about my own family. Like my stepfather passed away a year ago this month, and he wasn't. He was a very private person. He didn't do a lot of talking, so that's why I said you have to have these discussions with your family. But one thing we found out through his death is he was terminally ill. He was diagnosed with a terminal illness. He passed away, and he was still employed by his employer. Well, he also had life insurance in place that took care of my mother, and so when he passed away, she didn't have to worry about any type of expenses or things of that nature. And so life insurance, when people think about it, think about when they get married. So now I have a spouse. I need to make sure my spouse is taken care of if something were to happen to me. And the other is when they have a child. So when you have a child, that's also a time when people think about life insurance, because you want to make sure your child has what they need when they grow up to go to college, or maybe graduate from college to get money to purchase their first home. So those are the first two things that people think about when they talk about life insurance, but it's so much more than that. So if you move to the next slide. So here's the myth. Life insurance is only for final expenses. And when we talk about final expenses, we think about death, right? We think about passing away. Do I have enough money to bury my loved one? And so, yes, while that's a uh, that is true, but it's not just for final expenses. Here's the fact: life insurance can provide living benefits. Yes, living benefits cover your family's expenses after you're gone and help you leave a financial legacy. Leave a financial legacy. So when we talk about leaving a financial legacy, we talk about creating wealth for our children's children, creating an inheritance for our children's children. One of the easiest ways to do that is life insurance. And so I talked earlier, I mentioned about African Americans. And so of course, I'm a State Farm agent, and in our market area, we have a South Central market area. It consists of approximately 575 State Farm agents, or 570 or so State Farm agents, and that's in the greater Houston area, all the way up to Bryan College Station, down towards the Victoria area, even over east into Beaumont, Port Arthur area, and then a little bit over into southwestern Louisiana. And so out of this agency, we have our vice president of the agency, and he created this year a unity council. And so he brought together some agents from various backgrounds. And so then we had our first meeting. It's about 30 of us that was on this unity council from various backgrounds: Black, white, Hispanic, Asians. And so we offered some insight in this. And in that study group, one of the statistics that just startled me, well, not really startled me, but kind of surprised me, but it kind of makes sense when I thought about it. They put up on the screen, they said, many Americans view life insurance as a means of protecting their families from unpaid debt. White respondents, 64%, to a Forbes advisor survey, were much more likely to indicate this view than Black respondents, 37%. So when that statistic was read, there were a lot of gasps in the room. Like I said, we were Black, Hispanic, Asian, white, all in the room. And so, they were shocked by the disparity. But, one thing I pointed out is that in our culture, of course, we know our background, we know our history, we know what we had to endure as far as slavery and all of those things. But we have not seen the wealth transfer in our race as has the white race, right? We haven't seen grandparents and great grandparents and so forth leaving an inheritance through life insurance. So we haven't experienced it, right? And so anything you've not experienced, you're more doubtful of, right? We haven't experienced that reality. We haven't seen it. We haven't tasted it. And so we haven't seen our families prosper from life insurance. And so we can be a little bit more skeptical in life insurance, but the white race, they haven't had the same hurdles. We all know that. And so they've had parents who've experienced having a life policy and passing away and passing it on not only to their children, but their children's children, and creating that generational wealth that we so aspire to have, right? And so when I made that point, it was like a light bulb went off in the room, like, man, a lot of people like, just never thought of that. But that's so true. And so there's some living benefits also in life insurance. And so you have, of course, people think, okay, well, if I pass away, okay, my family gets to enjoy all of this. Yes, that's true, right? But let's talk about some of the living benefits. So let's go to the next slide. And so 6 life stages that trigger the need for life insurance. And I'm going to have to see if I can blow that. So getting married, I can't read the rest of it. I'm sorry. It's too small for me. Here we go. Okay. Getting or married or getting married, right? That's one stage that triggers life insurance. We talked about that. We talked about a parent or about to become parent, preparing for their child. Home ownership. So if you own a home and you have a $300,000 mortgage for 30 years, and something were to happen to you, what happens to the house, right? We talked about that. And then changing jobs. Do you know most employers that offer you life insurance, one of the big pushbacks I get when I talk about life insurance, people already have it on work. So my next question is, okay, well, can you take that with you? Is it your life insurance or does it belong to the company? Like if you leave that job today, can you take that policy with you? So changing jobs, that triggers the need for life insurance. And then retired or planning for retirement. So there's life policies. It's not only for death benefit, but there's certain life policies, especially the permanent life policies, where there's accumulated dividends, there's increased assets that you can later pull from, withdraw from, things of that nature. Some even have a better plan than some of the other traditional methods of investment. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't play one on TV. I'm not a CPA or accountant, but I am an insurance agent. I'm sorry, and so I do know what the benefits of life insurance can play, even in your retirement and your planning for retirement, right? And then single. A lot of people think, well, I'm single. I have no need for life insurance. But again, there's living benefits to even if you're single. There's like I said, permanent policies to where you may be able to withdraw from that policy later, or take a loan, interest-free loan, or whatever from that policy at a later date, or take a dividend withdrawal from that policy. There's also what's called a return of premium term policy. And I won't get into all the details of particular policies, but just know that even if you're single, there are benefits to having life insurance, a living benefit to have life insurance. I'll tell one other quick story. Even if you're thinking, okay, well, I'm not married, I don't have any kids, my family is away, I don't see the need of life insurance. So I had a friend of mine a couple of years ago, actually. It was about 3 years ago now that I had this conversation with him. But I was telling him, hey, you need to get some life insurance. In case something happened to you, you're single, you don't have any kids, yeah. But what happens to your home? When he was, joking, say, well, I'm in the grave. What's going to happen, right? So what ended up happening is, I kid you not, actually almost a year to the date, he was in his late 40s and he passed away. So what happened then? And it was, it tugged at my heart, because I was like, man, I was trying to convince him to have life insurance. But the thing that I had peace about is I did have the conversation with him, right? And so his family ended up raising funds through GoFundMe, because he wasn't from here. He was here in Houston, but he was from another city. So his family had to raise funds to ship his body back to his city and pay for the burial expenses. And so that's a prime example of why, even as a single person, would you want to leave that burden on your families? And, we used to be where, okay, it's going to be 60s, 70s, and living in my 80s and 90s. Nowadays, people are about passing away in their 20s, 30s, and 40s unexpectedly, right? And so are you prepared, and have you prepared for your family when your time comes? And so that's the type of conversation that I like to have with people. Even if you're single, there's a need that you can still give to life insurance. Do you have a favorite charity? Do you have a church that you want to leave the funds to? Do you have a niece or nephew that you want to leave funds to? So some things to think about if you're single. And for the sake of time, I'll go to the next slide. Okay, and so those are some things when we talk about protecting your wealth or creating wealth. I'm sorry, not protecting wealth, but creating wealth. We talk about life insurance. We talk about the benefits, the living benefits of life insurance, and maybe pulling from a life policy later, or investing in a policy. And I do want to make this point when I say investing in a life insurance policy. Of course, the number one goal of a life insurance policy is to be a life insurance policy, right? You don't necessarily think of it as an investment but there are investment tools in certain types of life policies that you can benefit from a standpoint, and then just passing that generational wealth down. One other quick thing before we move to this next slide is, I would say in that same survey we talked about white respondents seeing life insurance as being able to pay off debt more so than African Americans. There was another study that showed that when we do get life insurance, white Americans get on average $150,000 in life insurance, while African Americans get $50,000 life insurance, just enough to bury someone, maybe pay for their funeral arrangements, maybe pay for someone traveling from out of town. And so that disparity is great as well. So you think about a child graduating from college and his grandparent has left him $150,000. Well, now he can pay off his student loans and be ready to purchase his first house and not worry about that. Whereas we may come out having all that debt still to pay, and years down the line, we may delay marriage or whatever else. And not just us, but I'm just talking about the disparity between white Americans and African Americans when it comes to thinking about life insurance and passing along that generational wealth. Imagine a kid coming out of college and his college has paid his house, the first house, he's got a big down payment for his first house, his first car, or whatever. And so that's about creating wealth. Now I want to just talk a little bit about insurance in protecting your wealth. So here's a picture of an umbrella policy. An umbrella policy, many people may not know of, but it protects all of your other assets, your house, your car, even your investments and things of that nature. So an umbrella policy is just that. It covers all the rest of the things that you are responsible for and that you're steward over. And so you see this umbrella here, it's just like that. It protects the umbrella, it protects you from other things. And so when people get into car accidents and then they have an injury at their home and they get a lawsuit because they don't have enough coverage on their policy, or they only have liability coverage. Well, you can't have liability coverage for umbrella, but that's another topic. But if people don't have enough insurance on the liability coverage on their home insurance or their car insurance, well, that's where the umbrella kicks in. And so I have my grandfather, 91 years old, bless his heart, lives in California. He owns a fourplex. He stays in one. He rents out the other three. Well, he had an insurance claim, right? He had some damage in one of the units. He's concerned that one of the residents is going to sue him, because they claim that they got injured by some of the fallen debris inside the apartment. Now, of course, they have to prove that, right? So my grandfather was worried. He was upset and all of those things. And I actually flew out there to kind of walk him through the process. But he was like, I got to find an attorney. Oh my God, he's going to sue me. Oh my God, this and that. And come to find out, he had an umbrella policy. And I said, Granddaddy, you got an umbrella policy. You don't have to do that. So the whole nature of insurance is transferring risk to somebody else, right? Just transferring the risk to the big bad insurance company. You don't have to find a lawyer. You don't have to pay for a lawyer. You have an umbrella. When you have when it's raining outside and you got an umbrella, you just walk on outside. And he didn't have just here in Texas, we have mostly I do like $1 million or $2 million umbrella. Well, he has a big umbrella policy, right? He has one, see one of those umbrellas that comes all the way out where it can completely cover you and maybe a second person as you walking out in the rain. That's the kind of umbrella policy. When you got that protection, you just walk on out there. So I told him, Granddad, you don't have to worry about that. You have an umbrella. He was not aware that gave him that extra layer of protection that took that stress and that worry off of him. Even if he got sued, that person has to still prove their case, but he doesn't have to go through all the rigmarole of finding a lawyer, retaining an attorney, and all those things. Turn it over to your insurance and let them handle it because they're going to do the investigation for you. And so that's what I wanted to talk about as far as protecting your wealth, protecting that wealth, because the biggest investment most people have is their paycheck. People don't know that, so that's why you do a life policy, you like life insurance. But the second thing that people think about, the biggest asset they think about is their home. So you want to be able to protect your home. You don't want to lose your home because you got sued and you don't have funds for an attorney and all those things. So umbrella policy can help with that. Just a quick introduction to that, and we'll go to the next slide. I know I'm almost at my time, so I don't want to take too much more time. I want to give this quick pop quiz, and people can put it in the chat. I'll give them a couple seconds to respond if they want. If not, it's okay. So this pop quiz says, your address may impact. We're talking about protecting. We're talking about protecting your assets and make sure you have the right coverage, but also protecting your assets and make sure you have the right savings and you have the right type of. You know what you're getting yourself into. So this pop quiz says your address may impact your auto insurance rate. And so I want to pose that question to the audience. Do you think that is true or false? Your address, where you live, may impact your auto insurance rate. So the answer to that is true. It actually may affect your auto insurance rate. So when you think about auto insurance, and you say, oh, I'm paying too much for insurance. When you're thinking about where you live, the type of car that you drive, when you start to think about that, I know a lot of people they just buy, a nice fancy car. I'm going to get this 2023, MLX XX, whatever Mercedes, and I'm just going to drive. I got the money and I think about the maintenance of because it's not about getting the car, but it's about maintaining the car, right? And I've had a Mercedes. So those things are not cheap they're not cheap to purchase, but they're definitely not cheap to maintain. And so your address impacts your insurance rate. So what I mean by that is, yes, depending on where you live, there's certain neighborhoods, obviously, where there's high crime, but there's high theft of vehicles, or there's just a lot of accidents in that area. Well, that affects your rate. You heard about people living in they may live in rural areas compared to a metro area. That can affect your rate. Now, I want to say that's not the only factor in your rate, right? So that doesn't mean just because you live in Timbuktu, Texas, that your rate is automatically going to be cheaper because I live in Houston, Texas, because there's other factors that play into that. I'm just saying that's just one of the factors that it's like insurance, auto insurance rate. I tell people it's like a gumbo. It's a lot of mixture of things that affect your rate. And so I just want people to know that where you live can affect your auto insurance rate and how much you pay for auto insurance. So I hope I've helped somebody. I know I'm pushing up against time. If you have any questions, anything, I'm here to answer.
I didn't see any questions, Elder Adrien, but I will say we have some really intelligent people in the audience because they got your pop quiz correct.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yes,
good.
they got your pop quiz correct. They did know that address definitely impacts your insurance rates. And so I personally have a question as far as like coverage with just children, teenagers. What are your thoughts in terms of them having their individual policies? Are they covered under a parent's or grandparents' policy? How does that work?
Yeah, good question. So there's two schools of thoughts. I always tell people to if we have time to let's do what we call a life needs analysis. You may not have time to do that, but it depends on the individual and what your goals are, right? So there's situations where getting a child getting their own policy is good, and there are situations where they can be on a parent's policy. We call it a children's term rider. Well, they can be on the policy for a certain age amount of time, right? But after that, then they would be out without insurance. So even but there's cases where maybe it's not in your budget to get a separate policy for your child, and you want them on your policy and you want to pay for that policy until they're of a certain age, so age 25. Usually that's when they cut off for that. So that there's a case for a children's term rider if your budget doesn't fit to get for them. But one thing I will say is if you want to be responsible for making sure your child has life insurance in place, because you think they're not going to do it when they get of age, they're not going to do it on their own, then it may be a case where you get them their separate policy. And there are policies where there are permanent policies to where you can pay for a certain length of time on that policy, and then it lasts the rest of their life. Or, it's a situation of children's term rider. I just want to cover them to get them through school, get them to college, and then they're on their own. We have that mind of thought, school of thought, as well. So it just depends on what your goals are and what you want for your child.
Okay, awesome. That's good information. Can children cover their parents? That was another one.
Yeah, you can cover anyone. However, the person has to know that you're covering, right? Because otherwise, you hear these horror stories of people getting $1 million policy, taking out a policy on their ex-wife or whatever, in case something happens. Well, in insurance, if they're of sound mind and body, they're going to have to sign off on saying yes, it's okay for you to get this policy for me. So yes, a child can get it for their parents, and we do that all the time.
Awesome. And so you said that you suggest doing a life assessment?
Well, we call it a life needs analysis. Really, it's just a conversation about what your goals are. Okay. And what are you trying to accomplish with life policy? Because that will determine how much coverage you have, how long you want it to last, and does it fit your particular lifestyle?
Awesome. Well, this was really, really, really good information. I learned some things. I got some notes that I've been writing as well. And so if you also have additional notes or anything, you can post them in the comments, and I'll make sure that Adrien gets those. And then we want to allow you the opportunity to connect with them, to take that assessment, to make sure that that you are covered and that you are using all that this has to offer to the best benefit. So we're going to go ahead and put that information up there because I think that we need to shrink that gap. That's a big gap with the 150 versus the 50.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I know a lot of times I heard someone say, well, they can't afford to do it, but then you can't afford not to. Yeah. And it's something that's important. So if you want to have any last minute thoughts and anything as we wrap this portion out, please go ahead.
Yes. And I would say if people do say that. So the earlier you get life insurance, the better. So two main factors: your age and your health determine the premium you're going to pay when it comes to life insurance. So the earlier, the better. And it's always best to get something better than nothing. Maybe I can't afford the big $1 million policy because now I'm 40 years old and it's going to cost too much. But maybe I get another policy, maybe it's a short-term policy, because guess what? The best policy in place when you pass away is the one that's in force. So it doesn't matter if it's, it's for 20 years or if it's a lifetime. If you have something in place when you pass away, that's all that matters.
Awesome. Awesome. This was really, really, really good. So I really hope that you all were paying attention and absorbing it. And if you have questions, his information is up there on the screen. Go ahead and screenshot it. And please definitely, reach out and have that conversation, because I think it's important to even just start there to have that conversation. Well, thank you so much, Adrien. Really, really great presentation. Great information. I appreciate you taking the opportunity to just be a part of this Wealthy Place Creation 2023.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite, and I look forward to the continuation of this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, sir. I'm going to go ahead and take you off of the screen and get ready to introduce our next person. All right. So, guys, do not go anywhere. We have a powerful packed evening for you. So I'm getting ready in a few moments to bring on Kimberly Turane. She's an entrepreneur. She's going to, she's very, very feisty. I love how she's no nonsense. She tells it exactly how it is in terms of making sure that you are getting what it is, all that you need to do, and that you're doing it right and doing it in order, and that you are organized. I'm gonna let you, let her go ahead and do it herself. But as I heard her begin to speak, she was one of the people that God dropped into my spirit in this arena. So I know that she definitely has something powerful to share with you all. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring her on.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm sitting here cracking up because she's like, she feisty.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I love to listen to the lives and things that you do when you get them people together. But it is true. Tough love is love. So definitely appreciate it. And I am excited about just having you on tonight. So listen, I am not going to do anything long. Go ahead, and I'm going to allow you to just introduce the people and tell them about yourself, and then you do what it is that you need to do to
awesome.
these people.
Oh, that is so funny. Okay, awesome. All right. So listen, I don't have a long presentation. What Adrien just left us with was so amazing. It was filled with some really, really, really great nuggets and information concerning insurance. And so building wealth through insurance is extremely, extremely important. And so kudos to you, Adrien. My little light, y'all. Sorry. I don't know. It started acting up right before Adrien finished. So if it go off again, just ignore it. Nonetheless, Adrien left us with some good information. So I want to just admonish you to connect with him and get that. That is something that is taboo amongst the African-American community. We don't take the time to do what is needed. And so it's not until an emergency arises that we find ourselves in limbo, realizing that we should have did something a long time ago. So I'm a firm believer that people do what they want to do with the money that they have. All right. So I'll leave that on that note. So that was a little extra plug for Adrien, but nonetheless, I'm Kimberly Turane, just as Minister Prophetess Joyce Smith. Thank you so much, thank you so much for the opportunity to share on your platform this evening. I didn't quite know how to come, because there's so much that's kind of compacted to what I do and how I have done things. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to share on your platform this evening. So my presentation, or kind of what I'll share, is a little bit different from what you guys have maybe previously heard. I'm just going to share really what it is I do, who I am, how long I've done it, how we can connect, and some opportunities that are available as well. But then I also want to speak to the entrepreneur, which I believe my husband made a point to me, and I asked Joyce as well prior to coming on, what are some of the things that you think that people really, really need to hear? Because I can give you guys all this information, but if the questions aren't being answered, right, if we're not really touching and getting to the origin of the thing that really is going to help shift you into that wealthy place, then I'm not sure that maybe I have done my job. So I want to leave knowing that everyone has been fulfilled just based off of my presentation. So again, I'm Kimberly Turane, Kimberly Letman Turane, formerly Letman Turane by marriage. And so I am the owner and CEO and founder of Letman Enterprise LLC. It was established in 2016. A lot of what I did as a single woman. The Lord blessed me and allowed me to establish several businesses over the years. I've been a licensed realtor here in the state of Texas for 22 years. It'll be 23 years this year. Not sure where the time has gone, but here I am still in the game, right? And so I want to talk to you about that as well. Also, about 10 years ago, just embarked upon my 10th year in one of my other endeavors under Letman Enterprise LLC. Is Tax Max Pros, which is an independent and individual tax preparation business where we assist individuals and some small businesses with tax preparation, some bookkeeping, and there are multi-services that we offer as well as far as notary goes. We also do assist people with, of course, kind of channeling, integrating home home ownership, if they need assistance with mortgage loans, things of that nature, right? We can filter in and get them in the right direction as well. So, man, what can I tell you? Letman Enterprise LLC has been something that is that was birthed out. And when I did it, of course, again, I was single when I did it. But let me just tell you this: the power of having an LLC, right, in this umbrella of business. I have been an entrepreneur for double-digit years, right? So I found myself when I was younger working, and I realized that that just wasn't for me, right? So to each his own, not knocking the 9 to 5. I have done it. I have tried it. I am willing to do it if I need to. I'm not too good that I cannot go back into that space. But what I believe God has called me to is to, and has graced me for, is this platform, which is through entrepreneurship. And so through that, I have had the privilege to start a logistics business back in 2019 where I owned and had 18-wheeler. Me and my husband partnered together just last year as well and dove back into that business and decided that, you know what, we're going to stay in our lane and transition into another space. But guess what? We tried it, right? Besides the tax business, I have also owned a pharmacy. I have also had from vending machine businesses to array of things that I have done under this one umbrella, right? So I mention all of that because we're talking about the wealthy place and the power of entrepreneurship, right? And that's kind of really what I want to horn in on, is that I believe that most people don't really understand that this is really a faith walk. And so it requires a level of faith that is going to stretch you and challenge you. And so when you are in a space of building wealth, just as Joyce mentioned that God gave her this vision to create this platform to share with those, to help them open their perspective to other avenues and other platforms and other streams of income. And I say flows of income, right? Because streams is like this, right? But we want to flow, right? We want a consistent flow of income. That is something that I believe that our people, the body of Christ as a whole, is something that we need to tap into, which is the marketplace. And so a lot of times we focus on one area, but I just believe that this is my take, y'all. This is my opinion. This ain't Bible. That one paycheck is too close to broke. Okay, that's just my personal opinion. Now, your one paycheck could take care of it all, but let's just say that for any reason, if your business and or your job decided that it did not want to do what it didn't want to do anymore, if you are not positioned, just as Adrien mentioned, some of the other ways that you can prepare and situate yourself, right, through wealth building, through insurance and other annuities and stocks and things of that nature, which I'm sure he highlighted and spoke to. But if you are not positioned to have multiple things going on, let me tell you, that is why people slip into depression. That is why people kill themselves. That is why people do different things and go into different spaces. That if we just would be open to that space of having something else going on. So how did I get here? I started, I just knew there was something different about me, right? And God just allowed me to, I remember going to college, and I remember thinking to myself, man, I don't have to really have a degree to make a lot of money, right? And so I started to research and research and research and research. And let that be a point, Joyce, if you can type that in the comments for me. Whatever you do, whatever space that you are going into, anything that I have ever done, anything I have set off out to do, anything that I have prayed about and inquired of, and even received confirmation to do, I have always done my research about that industry, about that particular endeavor. Not just my research, but I've also found the power of relationships. And so I have connected, God has allowed me to connect with others who may be thriving in that area. And so let me just state this, that collaboration is the new currency for this hour. Collaboration is the new currency for this hour. And so a lot of times we think that we have to do it on our own. And I remember operating in that space for years and years and years. And I discovered that I was a one-man show, and there was only so much that I could get done in a day's time. And so I would stretch and find myself overwhelmed, and something always got the short end of the stick. And so it wasn't until I got into a space with a mentorship, into a space with a business mentor, that helped me realize that I didn't have to put systems and people in place. And so this is something that they tell us in the business world. You always want to hire your weakness. So if you're not strong in admin, hire somebody that has the ability to do administrative stuff strongly. Something that is, then this is just me telling my journey, right? So I told you my presentation is a little bit different than what you guys have heard previously. But I want to talk about really just, and this is me kind of talking about my journey and how I arrived here. Now I'm in the space where I'm a mommy. So let me speak to those who believe that you can't do it because you are a single mom, or because you have multiple things going on. So I am now in the space of being a first-time mom, married. We do have older children by way of marriage, right? And so I have found myself in this space. And so let me tell you, you have the ability to do it all. Yes, you can. I want you to know that God has graced you to be able to do it all. Let me talk about the power of being a mompreneur. The one thing that I love most about the ability to walk in this wealthy place through entrepreneurship is the ability to really kind of create my own schedule. And so now that I have this baby, now that I have this amazing husband, and we're in this great space and things are the way they are, let me tell you, the power of entrepreneurship has created the ability to allow me the flexibility. And I know that's like probably a I don't want to say a buzzword, but it's probably like one of those things that I know most people that I encounter, they're always talking about how they just wish they had more flexibility. They wish they could do more, right? It's just not enough time in the day. But let me tell you, there is enough time in the day to do what needs to be done. And so I want to encourage you, if you have stepped into the space of entrepreneurship, you're thinking about it, you're inspired by what you have heard from previous speakers, those who I heard Pilani last night talking about wholesaling and how God has allowed her to advance and set goals and do things in the manner she's doing. Let me tell you, she's able to do that because I'm sure she has flexibility. She's created a space and systems that allows her to do what she's doing. The same thing for Adrien as well, right? So everybody has different things going on, but nonetheless, that is something that I want to speak to. I don't know who that's for, but I want to encourage you. I came on to let you know that through the power of entrepreneurship, speaking to those moms, single moms, or just mommies, new mommies such as myself, this is one of the most empowering things that I could have ever done. It is the answer that I could, it's the greatest yes that I could have given years ago, to find myself in this space, to be able to create wealth, right, through entrepreneurship, working for myself, right, but then also having the ability to be flexible. So I wanted to speak to that. Let me just talk about real quickly, and I'm wrapping it up, to be honest with you. One of the things I want to talk about concerning the wealthy place is creating wealth through real estate. And so I mentioned earlier earlier that I've been in real estate for 22 years. Let me tell you one of the things that I want you all to hear. So we've heard about creating wealth through wholesaling and some other aspects and platforms in different ways when we've heard it through insurance. But let me tell you the power of building through wealth through real estate. A lot of people don't know that real estate, there's always going to be a need for it. Let me tell you, buying into and investing into real estate is the answer to go. It's the way to go. And so one of the things that I set out to do, which was one of my goals, I set goals every year for myself. And one of those things was to purchase my first investment property. And so currently we live in that property at the moment. But let me tell you, this property was already assigned and designated to be one of our first, as we're building our portfolio, right? Real estate portfolio is already designated to be our first rental property. So where do we go from here? We'll work into us where the goal is to work into a space to do what? Start building. Our next goal is to build a duplex. And once we build that, then we want to take that and allow it to pay for itself, right? Because now this property is leased out, right? It's paying for itself, right? The next set of property that'll be dual, right? Duplex. But then guess what? One of those units will cover the entire mortgage, right, for that duplex. But guess what it's also going to do? It's going to allow us to now be in a space where we can go build or buy our dream home. And that property the duplex will now pay for the dream home. So that is the way that you can create wealth, is through real estate. I want to encourage you all tonight to look into what you have heard previously and on tonight. My prayer is that you have heard something that may have triggered you, that may have inspired you, that may have piqued your interest, that may have even changed your perspective. And lastly, let me speak to the tax business. The tax business I made a post just the other night. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Let me tell you something that God told me some years ago. And Joyce, I'm wrapping it up. You can really come back on the screen. Something that he told me some years ago was that when I would seek him out concerning what to do, right? What endeavor. So I don't just do something to be doing it, right? I don't do it because I see other people doing it. That is the beauty of what has allowed me to be successful in my own right? Is that it doesn't matter how many people are doing it. I know that there's an audience and a people assigned to Kimberly. And so I want to encourage you on tonight that if you are thinking, there's too many people selling cakes, there's too many people. Y'all know how many different brands of bread are on the bread aisle? Guess what? Somebody like Miss Bread, somebody likes Sunbeam, somebody likes the HEB brand because I buy it. There's a brand, there's enough space for everybody. So I want to encourage you to increase your faith and not be stagnant or not hold back and not step into your wealthy place, as Minister Joyce has created this space and this platform to help open our perspective and our minds to walk into the wealthy place. The scripture speaks about us living an abundant life. Listen, I don't want to wait to the other side to see pearly gates and go, honey, I want to live it here. I want to experience it here. I don't want to wait to no. I want to see it here. And so in order for us to do that, I want to just encourage you once tonight. Again, I don't know how many people are listening, those that will come back onto the replay, but my tax business, when I did it, I started out with another brand, another franchise, and I waited and I was like, I'm finna go. I could do this myself. And I remember a girlfriend of mine saying, no. Word is bond. You committed to 5 years, finish the 5 years. And so I was like, okay, but I didn't understand the power of obedience. At the time, I didn't understand the power of fulfilling and being integral and fulfilling that contract. And so I did do that, right? And then the Lord gave me the name and the brand. And let me tell you, it's the gift that keeps on giving. So let me tell you, the tax business, if you never thought about it or considered it, honey, it is recession proof. Okay. I want to encourage you to look into businesses that are always going to be needed. Joyce, I don't know if I have the ability to just share. Listen, there are businesses that will always, or endeavors that will always need or be in need. I don't care what's going on, honey. The stock market could crash. Okay. Trump could get back in office. It don't matter what's going on. People will always need to file their taxes. People are always going to need somewhere to stay. But listen, somebody going to always need to be bailed out of jail. Somebody always going to be dead. I'm not being funny. Y'all see Joy said I was feisty and I keep it real. I'm direct, but I'm just giving it to you in a different perspective, right? Just to kind of open it up to you. But when God gave me the vision for TaxMax Pros, he gave it to me. And as a result, he's allowed me to pivot, and he's allowed me to, what's the word I want to use? Oh, the word just escapes me. What is it, babe? Expand. Okay, that's not the word I want to use, but we're gonna go with husband said expand. He's allowed me to expand the business, and so just this is our third year. We opened up to franchising to other entrepreneurs, and so through that endeavor, I believe that God has called me, because the vision was bigger than me just sitting and doing individual taxes. The Lord told me that I was called to help and empower other women to build wealth through entrepreneurship. And what better way was it to show them how they could build wealth through this particular industry? And so we began to franchise the opportunity. I do have multiple offices that are under me, and both of those ladies have done a phenomenal job. And I'm super, super excited to be extending that opportunity to more women or men as the years go on. One of my goals, I'm going to end it by like Pilani did last night, by saying what her goals was. So my goal and what I'm believing God for is 10 offices. 10 offices. So we're currently at a total of 3. I've had a couple of people inquire, so we're going to see what God is going to do. But y'all hear me, let it be noted that I am believing God for a total of 10 offices. And again, I know that God has called me to this space to empower other women to build wealth through entrepreneurship. So it is available to you. How you can reach me, Kimberly Turane on Instagram, Kimberly Turane on Facebook. I think that's it. That's the only places I'm really am. TikTok, Kimberly Turane, if you into TikTok. But certainly you can DM, you can message me if you have any questions about the income tax business, the real estate business, and any other, if you're into logistics and thinking about starting a trucking company and or dispatching, we also have those services for consulting as well. We have helped consulted other businesses with getting them jump started and set up as well. So that's a little bit about me. I know it was a little bit unorthodox in the flow as to how I kind of presented. It wasn't as streamlined in presentation mode as Adrien and some of the other people did, but I gave you what I had. This is who I am. This is who God has created me to be. And again, the one thing that I do know is that he has graced me for this. And again, I know that part, not even a part, but my calling is to empower others to through entrepreneurship, to get to their wealthy place through entrepreneurship. Thank you, Ms. Joyce.
No, ma'am. Thank you. Powerful story, powerful nuggets, awesome purpose. And yes, I didn't think about it, but that is really good to be able to just state what the goals are and what it is that you're moving forward to, because that is something that you really need to really just think about. Where do you want to go? What do you want to cover? As Adrien said,
what is your goal with the business? Scale the business.
Scale the business. So kind of level up. Yes. To scale the business. Yes, I agree with Adrien. Great presentation, great takeaways. Both of y'all did an amazing job. Thank you so much for actually just coming on and just sharing those nuggets and that wisdom. And definitely, please, connect with Kimberly. Consult with her about some of the things that she has that she may be able to help you with in terms of franchising, in terms of doing the all of the businesses and things that she's mentioned. So a lot of experience, a lot of a wealth of knowledge. So I really am I'm glad that you were able to come on and then share those tips, even just with the entrepreneurship and motherhood and balancing all of those things.
Yes.
Great and awesome information. And so if you have questions or anything like that, you all can continue to drop them in the chat. I'll monitor it and make sure that she has this information. I've already put her contact information in the comment section. And so we'll make sure that you're able to get that information as well. So once again, thank you so much, Kimberly. I really, really appreciate you coming on and just sharing your heart with everyone on this evening. Amen. All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and allow you to go from the stream, and then just quickly, just want to just briefly close us out on tonight. Hopefully this has been a blessing to you. Hopefully you are definitely hearing my heart and seeing my heart in terms of just prepping and preparing people to walk into their wealthy place. This was something that God gave me, and I want to make sure that I am being obedient, because he desires for you to step into that arena. And everything is a season. It's time sensitive, and so you want to make sure that you are that you're moving. Go back and listen to yesterday if you didn't hear the word after P. Elani spoke that God had given me about making sure that you're executing. You want to go back and listen to that, because that is a timely message. And yes, Jackie, thank you so much. And so listen, we won't be doing Wealthy Place tomorrow. I'm going to give you a little bit of a break, but we're coming back on Thursday. Thursday's time is a little bit different. We're going to be 7 p.m. I have brought Prophet Gary on. Prophet Gary is going to come on. Amazing speaker and man of God. I've been following him for years, and I was so excited when he agreed to come on the platform. Don't know him personally, but just his fruit and the lives and the information that he has. And he's going to be talking to you about just God's purpose for kingdom and wealth creation. And I've given him free reign to minister to the people. So you want to make sure that you're here, that you share. I need you to make sure that now we get a little bit of word there. We can break some things off of our lives and keep us making sure that we're able to move forward and move freely. And so please, on Thursday night, he'll be with us at 7 p.m. And then the following week, I told you all month long, I am pouring back into you. We have some powerful women of God. The Wisdom Speaks is coming on. Jackie Godot is going to be sharing some things about decluttering, about how to get rid of all of that gunk as you begin to move forward into some things. We have Jamie Alexander. She's going to be coming on. She has multiple books that she has written. She's going to be talking a little bit about soft skills. We have Sheila Griffith coming on. She's also a serial entrepreneurship. She's going to be talking about building wealth through children, how she was able to connect her children with businesses. And so, listen, we just have a lot that we are doing. So wanted to just make sure that you stay connected. When you see that little live button pop on, that you hop on and that you share as well. So definitely share this and just make sure that you are in the place on Thursday night. Love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great evening.